A very good morning, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to join you virtually for this timely and important launch of the policy brief examining the potential benefits of the proposed International Anti-Corruption Court. Allow me to start by sincerely thanking Integrity Initiatives International and Friedrich Naumann International for inviting me to deliver this keynote address today. I want also to greatly commend the efforts by Integrity Initiatives International for driving international and regional conversations and ideas on establishment of an international anti-corruption court. I address you today not just as the Chief Justice, but as a custodian of justice, the rule of law, and a fierce champion of integrity. I also speak on behalf of the many citizens who believe that the fight against corruption and transnational crimes requires more than an inspiration. It calls for decisive action, innovation, and bold institutional imagination. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, corruption, as we all know, is one of the most serious threats to good governance. It also threatens democracy, it threatens socioeconomic development and public trust, especially in Africa, and certainly across the world. For far too long, corruption has weakened institutions. Corruption has stolen futures. Corruption has bred cynicism in public life and prevented millions of citizens from enjoying the most basic public goods and services, which is their entitlement. As we all know, Africa continues to lose billions of dollars every year, much of which is tied to grand corruption and illicit financial flows. Often, the perpetrators of these heinous crimes are senior officials who siphon off the funds to offshore accounts. As judges, we see the devastating impact of corruption every day in our lives. In our courtrooms, we hear many cries and pains of citizens denied of health care, denied of education, and denied of livelihoods. We encounter the frustrations and struggles of investors who have lost their monies and opportunities because of corruption. In our anti-corruption courts, we hear and determine cases where the law itself has been undermined by deep networks of corruption and impunity. In our conversations during court users' meetings and integrity committees, we hear of the devastating consequences of corruption. These experiences are a constant reminder that addressing corruption is not just about legal outcomes. It is a question of that which is closely connected to human dignity. Because at the end of it, what corruption does is rob us of our human dignity. I also want to state that corruption knows no boundaries. Its architecture respects no borders. It is both regional and international. Yet, our national legal and institutional systems are often limited by capacity. Our institutions are also limited by jurisdiction and, most importantly, lack of resources and also external pressures. In the midst of these challenges, corruption and impunity thrives. Considering the devastating impact of corruption and accountability challenges, the proposal to establish an international anti-corruption court is not just timely. I dare say it is necessary. The court can serve as a complementary mechanism activated only when domestic institutions are unwilling or are unable to take action against serious cases of corruption. In addition to serving as a mechanism for punishing and deterring corruption, an international anti-corruption court can be instrumental in ensuring recovery and the return of proceeds of corruption and illicit assets. The recovered assets can be used to compensate victims of corruption and support socioeconomic development. Ladies and gentlemen, in the discussions and processes of setting up an international anti-corruption court, Africa must not stand on the periphery. Africa must be at the center. We must not be mere recipients of global justice. We must be co-creators of it. Africa's active involvement in the creation and shaping of an international anti-corruption court is not only a strategic necessity, but also a moral imperative. Engagement in the creation of the court is a direct response to serious threat and impact of corruption and a demonstration of the continent's commitment to combat corruption and impunity at the highest levels of governance. In shaping the character of the court, we can build on the developments and lessons learned in addressing corruption at the domestic level, including the experiences of anti-corruption agencies and special anti-corruption courts. In addition, we can reflect the African legal traditions and principles such as restorative justice and what we know in Africa as Ubuntu. Importantly, the process of establishing an international anti-corruption court should show from the experiences and the best practices of other international courts and tribunals. This should also avoid the risk of the court being perceived as an externally imposed or removed, one which is removed from the African realities. Moreover, the creation of an international anti-corruption court requires concerted, corrective, and multi-level efforts that entail the participation of diverse global, regional, and domestic actors. The participation of players such as judges, academic institutions, think tanks, anti-corruption agencies, private sector, victims and public interest groups, regional bodies, and the UN agencies is critical in shaping the legal, political, institutional, and operational framework of the court. As I conclude, we must all remember that corruption is one of the most insidious threats to democratic governance and sustainable development in Africa and the world generally. It robs nations of their resources and denies citizens their fundamental rights and dignity. An international anti-corruption court is not a silver bullet, but it is a crucial missing piece in the global anti-corruption architecture. By establishing the court, we will be building more fairer, more just, and more transparent world where no one is above the law. I thank you all and wish you very fruitful deliberations. God bless you all. Thank you.